And that comment to me, by the way, is super funny. When someone says my house looks uninviting, good, you're not invited. Hey, what's up? How you guys doing? Hope everybody is doing well. Back in the summer, I hit 500 subscribers, and to celebrate that, I did a Q&A where some of you guys sent in some questions, and I just took some time to answer them and chat and hang out. And I figured I would do the same thing again when I hit 1,000 subscribers. And then a week and a half ago, I was getting very, very close, and I figured I was about to hit it, and I uploaded a video called Why I'm So Frugal. And when I woke up the next morning, I had flown right past 1,000 subscribers, and I was almost at 1,100, which was a surprise, but a very nice surprise nonetheless. Little did I know that that video was gonna take off like crazy, and later that day I actually hit 2,000 subscribers, which was crazy to me. And then the next day I hit 3,000 subscribers, and I was like, hold on a second, what is going on here? And now like 2 weeks have passed, and I am well past 5,000 subscribers, actually nearing 6,000, which is like crazy. So I don't even know what to say about that other than thank you guys so much for all the love and all the support. That video has surpassed 100,000 views, which is equally impressive and terrifying to me. But all that is to say that I guess this is now the 5,000 subscriber Q&A rather than the 1,000, and I'm here for it. I made a post on the channel asking for you guys to send in your questions, and you certainly did, and so without any further ado, let's jump right into them. So the first question comes from Ashley Williams 7777, and Ashley asks, what would you do if you won the lottery? Well, unfortunately, Ashley, I don't even play the lottery, so the chances of me winning are approximately 0. But I will indulge you. If I did happen to play the lottery and I happened to win, I would probably just pay off my house, help out some of my family a little bit, help out my mom, help out a couple friends, and then just save and invest the rest and live a very chill, retired life. That might be a boring answer, but obviously I'm not the kind of person who likes to spend extravagantly or go wild, and so I would just take it as an opportunity to have the freedom that I've always hoped I could have. New York to Philly Holloway 592 says, do you still regret buying your current home? That's a loaded question. The short answer is honestly, yes, I do. For anybody a little bit out of the loop, this past summer, this past spring, I sold my townhome that I had been living in for 3 years, and I moved into this house, which is a detached house. The whole situation was catastrophic, and basically everything that could have gone wrong in the process seemed to have gone wrong. And unfortunately, I wound up buying this house very much on an impulsive whim. I know how absolutely stupid that sounds because of all the things in the world that you could buy impulsively. Why would you buy a house impulsively? I wish I had a smart answer for that. Unfortunately, I don't. But yeah, the long and short of it is that I do still regret buying this house. I actually just about 8 weeks ago finished wrapping up some renovations, which are also documented on the channel. I will link to them up here. If you haven't checked out that playlist yet, go check it out. I'm definitely much happier with the house now that it has been renovated, now that it feels more like my house. It's in the style, the way that I like things. More importantly than that even is it's now clean, because the people who lived here before were gross and basically just destroyed everything. It was stinky and dirty and dingy. And it's not even an old house. This house is only 6 years old, so the fact that they could make such a mess in such a short period of time is mind-blowing in and of itself. But yes, I am much happier with the house now than I was when I moved in 6 months ago, absolutely. I'm no longer crying about it, so that's the good news. And I'm getting used to it, I'm adjusting, but overall, if I could go back a year ago and not buy the house, if I could completely undo the whole process, would I, with the knowledge that I have now? Yes, I still absolutely would. And so in that way, I guess I still regret buying it, but it is what it is. And there's not much I can do about it at this point other than just try to make myself feel at home, and I'm trying. Thanks for sending in that question, by the way. Next question comes from, oh boy, I'm gonna butcher this name, I'm sorry. Kalilkia 5869. Sorry, I'm sorry. But the question is, do you think there's a connection between minimalism and the purpose of life? That's an interesting question because, to be honest with you, I don't believe there is a purpose to life. And I don't mean that in like a negative, depressing way. I guess I'm what you consider a nihilist, but I don't think that there is any greater meaning or any greater purpose to life. I think that life is inherently meaningless. We are just little specks of dust floating on a rock in infinite nothingness. And ultimately, everything that you do or don't do in this world is going to mean nothing at the end of your life. And so, while I think it's important to live with intention and to live in a way that doesn't harm others, that minimizes the harm to others as much as possible, I don't really think that there is a big greater purpose to life. And so I think that the goal is always, at least for me, just to find the most enjoyable way to live my life and to try to minimize the things that stress me out, upset me, and of course hurt others. As for how minimalism fits into the whole equation, I don't think minimalism is a purpose to life, of course not. I do think that it is a useful toolbox to help you achieve that enlightenment or that fulfillment that you're looking for, to help you enjoy whatever time we have here, because it only is what it is. Was that a little too deep? Genuinely Sarcastic asks, so much of the frugal space is American content. What unique challenges are there for Canadians? Thank you for that question. That's actually a really good question. I would say there definitely are some challenges being a Canadian. There's a lot of benefits to living here too. I don't want to make it sound like it's all bad. Obviously, the biggest benefit being our healthcare system is something we don't have to pay out of pocket for. We don't have to pay insurance premiums. Most of our healthcare is covered from our socialized medical system, which I'm very grateful for. But taking that off the table, pretty much everything else here is as expensive as you would expect to find in the most expensive neighborhoods in the States. So average Canadian costs are on par with what you would expect to see in like New York City or Los Angeles. And it can be really difficult. It makes saving money very difficult, but it also makes living day-to-day life very difficult because everything is so expensive. And so unfortunately, a lot of the opportunities that exist in the States don't really exist here. Everything from gas to groceries to clothing and especially real estate is so much more expensive here in Canada. I hear all of these stories in the States of people buying their first house when they're like 18 or 19 or 21, and maybe it's a piece of crap, maybe it's like a little old, broken down, whatever, but they buy it for $100,000 and then they renovate it and they rent it out and it helps them to get a head start in life. And that is absolutely not a thing here. You're not even gonna find, I wish this was an exaggeration, and I swear to God that it's not, but there are some condo buildings in Toronto where a parking space for the condo building is like $80,000 to $100,000. Not the condo unit itself, just buying a parking space with the condo is $100,000. So the chances of finding a house for $100,000 here, you'd have to be driving, 6 or 8 hours north of civilization to find that, and then you're not gonna have any amenities for anything at all. But yeah, I mean, at the peak in the summer when gas prices were at the highest, our gas prices here were about $2.20 Canadian per liter, which translates to well over $6 American per gallon. The cost of living here is very high. It's expensive for me to pay for my life and pay for my home, even living a frugal lifestyle. And I think a lot about the fact that if I was to sell this house and move south, I could go to a lot of low or medium cost of living areas in America, and I could buy a house there and be mortgage free. And that's definitely not the case here. I could probably also move somewhere where I don't have to shovel my driveway ever. So it's something I think about, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, definitely life is more expensive in Canada as a whole. And unfortunately, it is what it is. All right, next question. Next question comes from Elena725, and she says, I have a few questions. Elena, you're only allowed to ask one question. I'm kidding, I'm totally kidding. Her questions are, how old are you? Do you want any kids in your future? Also curious to know what your Myers-Briggs type personality is. I'm 30 years old. Do I want kids in the future? I don't. I don't want this to be taken the wrong way by anybody. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I don't really love kids. It's not something that I've ever foreseen doing myself. Having kids is not really on the agenda for me. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm honestly just not somebody who wants my life to revolve around somebody else. And I know that might sound selfish, but I would argue quite the opposite, that what would be selfish would be bringing a child into the world and then being resentful of the fact that I have to accommodate that child. I don't like waking up early. I do not want to be woken for midnight feedings or having to drive a kid to school or anything like that. Absolutely not going to happen. I would love to live that dink lifestyle, the double income, no kids, where I could have the freedom and flexibility to be able to do the things that make me happy. If I do have extra money, I want to be able to spend it on myself. I'd also make the argument that our planet is already very overpopulated and not heading in a great direction in a lot of ways, and I don't know that bringing a child into this current world is necessarily a fair or humane thing to do, and I definitely don't think it's necessary. I could talk about this for a very long time, but at the risk of offending people and going on a tangent, I will just leave it at that and say no, I don't foresee myself having any kids. If that was to ever change, and I don't foresee that it will, but if that was ever to change, I would probably adopt, because to be honest with you, the idea of being pregnant scares the living shit out of me. But yeah, probably not gonna have kids. What was the last question? Oh, the Myers-Briggs personality. I am an INTJ, I think. Yeah, the architect. Next question. Foreverish132 says, how do you resist the temptation of spending? When you do buy items, are you buying cheap or high end? So I would say I don't really resist the urge of spending. I don't really resist the temptation because, to be honest with you, I don't feel a lot of temptation most of the times. I personally am somebody who just really values my free time and my flexibility over most material items. So knowing that every dollar that I spend is another dollar I have to work to earn, I'm more inclined to just choose not to buy most things, especially if they're unnecessary, and to just enjoy my freedom and to not have to overwork myself to pay for things that aren't really necessary. Of course, there are some exceptions, and so if there is something that actually tempts me, generally that's an indication that it's something that I really value and it's something I really want, and if I do really want it and I think that it's going to contribute to my life in a positive way, then usually I'll go ahead and buy it. As for if I'm buying cheap or high end, I would say it really depends on what it is, and it depends on the purpose I need it to serve and what my expectations are, and of course what the price points are. Generally, I try to find a good balance between value and quality, and I find somewhere in the middle. There's a good saying which I've heard, which is buy once, cry once, meaning, if you only have to spend the money one time, you buy quality, and that way you don't have to keep spending money over and over again, and I am a believer in that. But I also believe that I don't always need the best and the most high-end version of everything, and so I just try to find kind of that sweet spot in the middle that will meet all of the needs that I have with reasonable quality and still be affordable. Hope that answers your question. Milky Galaxy says, hi Nicole, I was wondering if you can do a video on side hustles or how to earn more money during recession. Love your content and how you approach things in life. Well, thank you very much, Milky Galaxy. I appreciate the compliments. I actually already did do a video on side hustles. I'll link to it up here in the description box down below as well. I made a video covering 25 side hustle ideas that can earn you $50 per hour or more. I've talked on the channel before about the side hustle that I do, which is flipping, basically buying and selling things on online platforms like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. And I would like to make some more content about that, but you guys will have to let me know in the comments below if that's something that you're interested in seeing. If you want to see more content about flipping and buying and selling and all that kind of stuff, if that interests you, let me know. Olivia Harris says, considering it's the holiday season, how do you approach gift giving and receiving as a minimalist? Well, you might notice that I don't have any like Christmas decor, I don't have a tree, I don't have anything like that. And the reason is that I don't actually celebrate Christmas or really any specific holiday. So for me, there isn't a lot of pressure because it isn't really a big thing. Of course, there will still be some people who I'll buy a gift for just as a kind gesture. And I'm sure some people will give me gifts as well. But it's not something that I feel a lot of pressure about. It's not really a big deal to me. The thing about gift giving, especially holiday gifts, is that there's often really not anything that I need or want. And the few things that I do need and do want are unfortunately not things that most people could reasonably buy me as a gift. Like I would really love to get a new couch, but that's like $2,000. So of course, nobody's gonna gift me a new couch for the holidays, especially a holiday that I don't even celebrate. Glenn Beedshaw says, do you live in that giant house? What's the cost of heating on that? Okay, so this is actually a question that I have gotten a few times, questioning how big my house is or why I live in such a big house or all the expenses associated with a big house. So I will say a few things. Yes, obviously I do live in this house. Is this house big? This house is 1,850 square feet. And for me, it does feel quite large, I'll be honest with you. It feels unnecessarily large. But by Toronto standards, where I live, this is actually, believe it or not, considered to be a small house. I know that there are people who live in different areas of the world where much smaller houses are much more normal, who are gonna be mind blown by this. But small houses, in the true sense, don't really exist in the Toronto area. Like, my previous home that I lived in was a townhouse. It was 1,350 square feet, so it was a little bit smaller than this. And that house, though I thought that it was perfectly big, and again, even still a little bit bigger than I needed, by most people's standards, it was so tiny, so much so that I actually struggled to sell it. It was a 3-bed, 3-bathroom house. But being 1,350 square feet, everybody thought it was way too tiny, and it was really hard to find a buyer because anybody who had kids or who were planning to have kids in the near future were not interested in it. They didn't think there was enough space in it. So eventually a single young couple bought it, and for them it's a perfect home. But unfortunately, the standards that I think that North Americans, and specifically that Canadians in the Toronto area have for the size of housing is unreasonably large. So this house is 1,850 square feet. And yeah, I guess it is a fairly large house for one person, but listen, my ideal would be to buy a tiny home. Like my ideal home would be about 750 square feet and just have like a nice sized backyard. And unfortunately, the only way that you're gonna find something that is like under 1,500 square feet really is if you're going to a condo. And for me, my lifestyle, a condo is not really something I'm interested in at this point. Having a dog especially, I really appreciate having a backyard and some significant outside space. But yeah, it's a weird one. I get a lot of those questions where people think that like, oh, I must be rich or I must have bought a mansion on purpose. And I'm not rich, nor did I intentionally buy a mansion. But yeah, this is just what houses are like here. And I agree that it's insane. The heating costs, well, so our heat here is on natural gas, which thankfully is much cheaper than electric. And I don't know specifically what just the heating cost is because the natural gas bill covers the furnace as well as the hot water tank. But my gas bill in the winter for the hot water tank and the furnace together is generally about $75 or $80 a month, which is higher than I wish that it was. But again, by Toronto standards, people think that that's a joke. When I complained that I got an $80 bill in the mail, people were like rolling their eyes and laughing at me. So I hope that provides some insight. On a similar topic, a lot of people were commenting, asking me why I don't have furniture and where I don't have curtains. So I don't have curtains, I have blinds though. I don't know why that seems to blow so many people's minds. I have blinds on all of my windows. I think that they might have been pulled up more in one of the videos because I do like some sunlight, but I do have blinds on the windows. So I don't know what that was all about, all that confusion. And I do have furniture as well, though admittedly I could use some more. So I have a couch, I have a coffee table, I have some bar stools, upstairs I have a bed and a dresser, I have a desk in my office. But I do need some more furniture for sure. I would like I said, a nicer couch, I would like a nicer coffee table, I would like a console unit down the hall there. I would like some nightstands in my bedroom, but the reason I don't have all of that stuff is because I only just moved in here like 6 months ago. And as you can probably see, my walls are not even painted yet, right? Like that's spackled and that's gray. And the reason is because I just had some renovations done. But yeah, I only moved in 6 months ago and my renovations only wrapped up 8 weeks ago. And so I'm trying to do things one at a time. I'm not rich, I can't do it all at once. I do not want to go into debt for something silly like a couch or a coffee table. I actually financed a portion of my renovations as well. And so until I pay that off, I'm not going to be spending excessive money on anything else because I do not like to be in debt. I'm generally not somebody who lives with consumer debt, and that's not about to change. So it's not because I think that I'm being some like extreme minimalist on purpose or anything like that. It's just that I am one person with one modest income trying to do as much as I can, and I have to do so in a gradual way. Something that's really interesting about social media and about YouTube is that no matter what you do, somebody's gonna have a comment or a criticism about it. So if my house is relatively empty because I haven't yet been able to afford to furnish it, people are gonna comment and go, "Where's all your furniture? Your house looks cold and uninviting." And that comment to me, by the way, is super funny. When someone says my house looks uninviting, good, you're not invited, you know? But yeah, people will complain, they'll say that, you know, your house looks cold, your house is empty, where's all your stuff? But on the flip side, if I went out and I bought a bunch of stuff and filled my house with furniture and decor, everybody would go, "Oh, well, it must be nice to be rich. Oh, well, look how much money you're spending. That's not very minimalist." Like, no matter what you do, somebody's gonna have something to say about it. So yeah, do I generally want to live in a fully empty house? Of course not. Am I currently living in a fully empty house? No, I'm not. Do I plan to get some more stuff over the next little while? I do, little bit by little bit. Hope that answers your question. And those are called window blinds. I don't think they're a new invention. All right, last question. I'm wondering how you got so wise at such a young age. Do you have a mentor or someone who inspired you? Thanks for the awesome content. Well, thank you very much for the kind words. This is a bit of a weird one for me to answer. For the majority of my life, I have had people tell me that I seem very mature for my age, or I seem very wise for my age, or I'm very well spoken, or I'm very articulate. And I don't really know how to respond to those types of comments. I know that they're meant as compliments, but I just don't see that in myself. I feel like I speak normally, but maybe I don't really know. When somebody says such a young age also, it makes me wonder if they think that I'm younger than I am, because I'm 30 years old. So maybe if they thought that I was like 16 and I could speak very well for a 16-year-old, but I'm 30. So I don't consider myself to be that young, and I don't consider myself to be particularly articulate for somebody my age, but I don't really know. But to answer your question as far as whether or not I had a mentor or anybody like that, the answer is not really, but I am an only child and I was raised in a single parent home. And I know that a lot of people, especially if they're only children and they don't have siblings, that their cousins become kind of like their adopted siblings. And I don't even have any cousins my age. Like, most of my cousins are about 18 to 20 plus years older than me. So by the time that I was born, they were already like off creating lives of their own, and most of them were married and had children by the time that I was like, 8, 9, 10 years old. So I was raised around a lot of adults, and I guess I always just learned to communicate and speak to adults from an early age. So I know that, my mom was very keen on not doing like the baby talk thing with me. Like, she wanted me to learn to speak properly. And if I was speaking with people who were much older than me, then that's kind of just the dialect that I picked up on. But yeah, I guess that's the best explanation that I can give. Well, thank you guys so much for sending in all your questions. Some of them were really interesting and really thought-provoking, and I really appreciate you taking the time to reach out. Thank you as well for all of the love and support over the last few weeks, and for all of my people who've been watching for even longer than that. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos and leaving me these lovely comments and subscribing and liking and all that good stuff. Like I said, it's crazy that things have grown as quickly as they have. The last 2 weeks have been absolutely insane, but I am very, very grateful for all of the love. My next Q&A will be at the 10,000 subscriber mark, so I will see you guys then, and in the meantime, I'll have lots more regular content for you. If you enjoyed this video at all, please go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, yada, yada, yada. Take care. See you on Sunday. Bye, guys.